Hi, and welcome to another episode of CannaBiz with Canna-Chris. I'm Chris Nanny, also known as Canna-Chris, and today I'm with my co-host, Austin Slutsky.
Love being here, Chris.
Thanks for being on the show, Austin. We couldn't do it without you. So, let's start off the show.
So, we got some big news. So, back in August, the Illinois governor, Bruce Rauner, signed the Alternative to Opioids bill.
Okay, let's just stop right there. This happened in August. What are we doing?
It's being implemented now. And so, what this does, it allows for a quicker and easier way for patients to get medical marijuana instead of all the bureaucratic red tape that they now have to do in Illinois.
Okay, that's something I could really get behind.
Yeah, and what it does is it allows an enrollment program. So for patients who are prescribed opioids, they can bring their prescription into a medical dispensary, and it allows them a temporary 90-day supply of medical marijuana that they can then apply for a long-term use.
Well, I really hope this catches on in other states too. It seems pretty progressive, especially in Illinois.
Yeah, there's a lot of great benefits to it. Basically, anyone who has their state ID and then some sort of written certification from their doctor, as long as they're over 21, they can get medical marijuana. Even if they decide that it doesn't work as well as they thought it would, they can still go back to their prescription originally.
Well, hey, I want to shift a little gears and go out west. In Colorado, there's a strike going on right now for all the Denver public school employees.
Yeah, there's teachers all over striking right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's about 2,600 teachers and other employees all on strike right now asking for better pay.
Yeah, I mean, they should get paid for the work that they do.
Yeah, so let's tie it back into cannabis. There's a dispensary out there called Kind Love. And right now they're supporting the strike by offering an eighth for 1 penny to all employees that are on strike right now in Denver.
Wow, I wish I could get that deal.
Yeah, so the 2,600 teachers out there, it sounds like a great way to support them right now, help them relax, because I can imagine it's very stressful not being able to work, not getting a paycheck, and putting it all on the line.
Yeah, it sounds like a great program, giving back. Has Kind Love ever done anything like this in the past?
Yeah, so they actually have. They have a history of giving back to the community. So last Veterans Day, they actually did the same deal, a penny per eighth for all the veterans in Denver. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Kind Love. That's a great thing to do, and I think it's really ambitious, and it encapsulates what the cannabis community should be like.
Really great hearing all those great stories coming out from people trying to give back.
Yeah, but let's go to New York. I heard a little more insidious things going on over there.
Yeah, so more in line with what we're going to be talking about later with our wonderful guests. MedMen, one of the largest dispensaries around, has recently been kicked out of the New York Medical Cannabis Industry Association following accusations of racist and sexist remarks, and there's also been some allegations of financial corruption among their top-level executives.
Oh, that's not looking too good. So what's MedMen saying about this?
So MedMen is coming out and obviously denying all these claims, but it does come from a pretty reputable source, their former CFO, James Parker, and he's actually filed a suit in the LA Supreme Court, basically saying that their CEO, Adam Bierman, has referred to an LA City Councilman with derogatory remarks.
How significant is this a blow to MedMen within the New York cannabis industry?
So MedMen is one of only 10 licensed operators for medical cannabis dispensaries. So this could be, 10% of the total dispensaries in cannabis in New York that people will no longer have access to if they are no longer part of this association.
Okay, well, hopefully New York figures that out, and if need be, they find a replacement who's a little more inclusive and better for the community as a whole. But with that being said, thanks for that quick update in cannabis. But for all of our listeners out there, make sure to like and subscribe to this video. And up next, we're going to be interviewing one of the most influential women in the cannabis industry.
Ooh, I'm so excited, Chris.
Coming on to our show today, we have the CEO and founder of Minorities for Medical Marijuana, Roz McCarthy. But before we bring her on, I just want to give our organization a quick shout out. Did you know, Austin, that they recently won the 2018 Industry Organization of the Year Award?
Congratulations, Roz and Minorities for Medical Marijuana.
Thanks for having me, and thank you for the recognition. We are so proud of winning the award for 2018.
I imagine that's pretty tough to do. Can you tell us a little bit more about Minorities for Medical Marijuana?
Absolutely. The organization is a 501c3 nonprofit. It has a membership-based component to it as well. I started the organization in 2016. I'm the founder and the CEO. I'm based here in Florida, and that's where our corporate office is. And I just felt like it was important to make sure that communities of color have a voice in the public policy that was being established throughout the country, as well as being able to receive good, solid education about the plant from a medicinal standpoint, as well as the economic development and business case for cannabis, and we want to be a part of it. We want to be a part of the business side of the industry and not going to jail and still trying to recover from the disproportionate amount of time that black and brown folks are going to jail about the plant. We want to be involved in a very meaningful way. So I'm just excited about the work that we've been doing. We're now in 25 different states throughout the country.
Yeah, it's great hearing how you can impact people of color who haven't had all these opportunities maybe in other industries and who've been directly impacted by misconstrued laws in the past, and we can now kind of rectify that and hopefully push towards a more inclusive society, and especially cannabis moving forward.
I'll tell you, that's where we want to be, but in any industry, from technology industry, the healthcare industry, we want to see folks that are not at entry-level positions. We want to see C-suite decision makers. We want to see diversity officers within these multi-state national operators and these large, well-capitalized companies. We really want them to understand that there is such an extreme opportunity to have people of color to be a part of it, to help steer the wheel. We also want these individual businesses, these small business owners, to have a little piece of the pie as well.
Now, Roz, going off that last comment where you're talking about diversity in the big and small businesses, can you kind of tell us why that's important?
The business case for diversity is really simple. Diversity in thought equates to the opportunity where you want to have inclusion, you want to have diversity, because we live in a community, we live in a country that's very diverse. Sometimes people look at this industry from this entry point, but this industry is going to be a full-blown, well-matured industry in the next 10, 15, 20 years. In any industry, it's always about the consumer. So if you're able to build your organization to build the infrastructure that talks about diversity of thought, creativity, having like-minded people that are part of it, being able to get rid of implicit biases that might be there because people just don't know and they need that type of training to help coach them through to build a better organization, it's only going to help the bottom line. Because at the end of the day, when you have people that are buying other companies and they continue to buy, and you have acquisitions and mergers and things of that nature, at the end of the day, the consumer, you want to be able to attract the consumer. And let me tell you something, black folks, we will buy. And not only that, we will buy cannabis. We are consumers. You know, when you think about diversity, it's a business case study for diversity and why it's important. We live in a country, we live in a world that's diverse. It's diverse in the way that we live, in the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that the experiences that we've had. The cannabis industry is no different. This will be a consumer-driven industry. Let's think about 10, 15, 20 years from now. After all the mergers and acquisitions happen, once you're looking at federal prohibition is lifted, you're being able to serve consumers a variety of different products to help them with their healthcare needs. You're going to have consumers and they're going to buy. And the way that we buy based on people that reflect our value. They show that they have a commitment towards our community. And so that's why I really implore our cannabis companies. Look at Coca-Cola, look at Ford, look at United Airlines, look at Walmart. They all have a diversity and inclusion officer or chief diversity officer. They all have a diversity plan or strategy that is totally aligned to their bottom line revenue. They believe that there's budget and there's resources to drive home their message of diversity and inclusion. And they make sure that the people that are making decisions from the top to the bottom of the organization are totally aligned with that commitment towards diversity. Words can I express that the cannabis industry, you can see what's being done, and we have so much opportunity, and we should be the example. We should be the light that says, you know what, diversity is going to be our mantra, because this industry was built on the back of black and brown people that were arrested disproportionately, that were taking away their liberty because of the color of their skin. And so why can't we make this a complete commitment from the industry and from the players, the big multi-state national operators, the big well-capitalized companies? This should be a part of their whole business for them as they're growing and as they're acquiring new partners and things of that nature.
You know, non-cannabis companies that have implemented diversity programs, we can kind of use that framework, you know, having an actual diverse cannabis industry.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
We gotta take a quick break right now. So to all of our listeners, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this episode. And feel free to comment because we love reading them. And we'll be back with Roz.
Welcome back to CannaBiz with Canna-Chris. Today we have Roz McCarthy in the building, and she is talking about diversity in the cannabis space.
So, earlier we talked about MedMen and how they got removed from the New York Medical Cannabis Association. We'd really like if you could share some of your thoughts on that and what they could do in the future to be more diverse and inclusive in their corporation.
Well, first and foremost, I read the article regarding the lawsuit and was totally blown away, but not surprised because, being a black female, I have always had to be on the balance of not being too aggressive or not being too assertive or having a balance because I didn't want to be looked at as an angry black woman or, she's hard to work with or what have you. These are called implicit biases. Basically, they are biases because sometimes you can get them from the social, especially social media that you see. So if you see a one loudmouth or aggressive person of color, you automatically go clump that person as being the same thing. So, the comment about the city councilman, and I actually know Councilman Wesson from personal experience, and he's a very nice man. The comment about the African-American woman, you know what? You are caught by surprise by it, but you're not surprised because sometimes people think that it's okay to say those things, and it's not okay. And it really starts at the top. And when you have a top person, your CEO, your COO, you're accepting and supportive, well, yeah, I like when you say that, or I want you to say that. Supportive is when you hear someone says something that is totally inappropriate, that you don't address it and you don't remove the cancer, that you allow that conversation to happen. And so with that being said, I know our organization tried to reach out to MedMen for a partnership for how can we work together, because we're a national organization that specifically deals with minorities and people of color. And honestly, there was no love, there was no callback, there was no feedback, there was not a conversation. I reached out, and so sometimes it's indicative if that's not your priority, that's not your priority. And if you have your biases and if you have your thought process when you're, doing your thing, if it is true, well, it comes out in conversation and you say things that you don't think is either harmful or you don't think someone else hears you, and it is harmful and it sets a pattern. So the choice of the New York Cannabis Association to throw them out, if the accusations are true, because I believe everybody deserves a fair chance to defend themselves. But you know what? I support that. And you know what? MedMen, if you're listening, call Roz McCarthy at Minorities for Medical Marijuana. Let's talk about what you can do in order to understand the case of diversity and the things that you could do from an internal organizational perspective, and also what you can do to communicate your commitment to how we can turn the ship around. I think the first thing is to admit, yeah, you know what, we got some issues. And then from there, be very intentional and sincere about, first understand, and then once you understand, implement.
I think it's very important that we do establish the dialogue early, and we always keep an open door, especially to MedMen in this situation. And Roz, I think what you just said is right on the money, and it's perfect.
Right. Let me tell you something. There's more MedMen out there. So if it did happen, it's not just in regards to people of color. Sometimes there's biases there from other different biases that we don't even know that need to be challenged to say, how can we do better? How can we look more like the community that we want to serve? It gets me when you go into a Baltimore, go into a New Jersey, if you go into a DC or a Chicago, and your organization is not reflective of the community you're serving. How can you serve that community? How can you want them to get better when you don't understand what's going on? We have a diversity training platform within our organization that will come out. We'll do an assessment. We'll do training. We also help you to identify and find a diversity officer so that you can get someone that has the right fit from a diversity standpoint, but also from a cannabis standpoint, so that they have that working knowledge. I just, look at it. It is a business case. Yes, it is revenue. There is money. It's a cost to do business, but it's a cost that is so worth it. And just think about, the cost that MedMen, if this is true, how this is going to affect their bottom line, how this affects their reputation. And think about if it was worth it to have a $110,000 a year employee there to help you to make sure you understand how to create an organization that is about excellence and a best in class and that is committed to inclusive business practices.
What are some of the programs that they can do, and what are some of the benefits that you see, including a diversity officer?
I will tell you this, a diversity officer is going to be that executive person that's sitting around the board table, and he or she is going to be a part of the decision making when it comes to acquisition, when it comes to merger, when it comes to your marketing campaigns, participation in the industry from industry associations and things of that nature. He or she is going to be a decision maker. They're not going to be a middleman. They're going to help you to understand that when there is a community that you want to go into, things to think about, things to focus on from a business perspective at an executive level. He or she will also help you to determine and create your own diversity programming, your own diversity roundtable where you have diverse members of the organization, mid-level management, senior management, entry-level individuals who are diverse, who want to give you feedback on things that we can do as an organization to be better at diversity, to ideas of how we can, connect the dots with communities that may feel like they're being left out. And so that diversity officer can also create a best-in-class workforce development program, making sure that when you are hiring from the bottom all the way up, that even if, you're not only looking at entry-level positions where people of color may get an entry, but you're looking at how you're retaining, are they being promoted? You're looking at mid-level management and senior management opportunities that you want to make sure that is marketed and advertised to individuals that come from diverse backgrounds. You also want to create a supplier diversity program. Think about the dollars of contracting they use. This is not even, touching plant. Ancillary businesses they use for contracting for services. How can we make sure if we put out an RFP as a diversity officer that RFP gets in the hands of businesses that are diverse? And so those are different programs that you can establish within your organization to make sure that you are really committed. And let me tell you something, it works. And when you do it, your team feels better, your staff feels better. You will start seeing that your engagement with consumers, it really trickles down and it has an effect on the bottom line. And if you think I'm joking about it, I'm not. And I give a shout out to one of our 2018 Diversity and Inclusion Champion of the Year is TrueLeave. And they are a multi-state operator that started in Florida, now in California and Massachusetts. They don't have a diversity officer, but their CEO is so committed in the things that she's done over the past year to make sure that diversity was a forethought and not an afterthought. We knew that we wanted to give them that award, and they received our first award from our organization.
Well, that's great. Congratulations.
Yep.
And you brought up how diversity can help a business grow. And aside from the anecdotal evidence, we also did a little bit of research on our own, and we were able to find this one study conducted by Forbes on diversity and leadership. And what they found is diversity and leadership improves not only innovation, but financial performance. Average, it increases a company's revenue by 19%.
I agree.
So, exactly. This isn't even a small study. This is a study of 1,800 businesses across 9 continents. I think it really just solidifies your point that diversity is beneficial to businesses and it helps them grow.
Your diverse communities, if you support us, we'll support you. If you believe in us, we are the ride and die people that are out here that if we feel like that you have an interest in what's important to us, and that comes with the marketing. So I tell companies all the time, it's not just about who you hire as a diversity officer, but it's where you're spending your dollars. Spend your dollars, your marketing dollars, your advertising dollars, your outreach dollars, because we're doing that and we're trying to find creative ways in the cannabis industry. And there's some wonderful ways that you can do that will allow your brand to be connected to communities who are not even expecting your brand to be connected to it. So if I see your brand in my community and I see you're making an effort to connect with me, when I have a choice to go and decide, okay, where am I going to buy my product? And I'm picking and choosing, it's all about brand awareness. I see your brand again, it automatically triggers, man, you took the time to come to my community. You know what? I'll give you my business. It's so simple.
What would you like to see businesses do to help better attract diversity so that they can implement some of these programs?
You know what? I think the first thing is you take an assessment and you create a diversity plan. Even if you're not ready to have a diversity officer, you know what? It starts with a commitment from the CEO, whoever is responsible for the day-to-day, the chief executive officer, the chief operating officer, that board or what have you. In the cannabis industry, we have to just say, you know what? We're just going to do it. And I have a couple of folks that have come to me over in the past month and a half that said, Roz, we want your help. We want to do it. We want to be the best in class. We want to get it right and we want to do it. There's some beautiful projects going on. It's just not enough. And I will say this also, when we see people doing this and we see them really going the extra mile and making an effort and trying to integrate diversity into their organization by bringing in officers, or maybe it's not an officer, maybe it's a diversity manager. I'll take that. If that's your starting point and that manager is responsible and you need help in figuring out what's their day-to-day job and what they're responsible for, call me. I'll help you. Bring them on board. Get them acclimated. Let's get them a part of what your goals are and your desires. And that's why you have to have a diversity plan that says, here's our goals. Start small. You don't have to knock it out the ballpark the first year. Give yourself 1 or 2 very specific, 2 or 3 very specific goals that you want to focus on. Who's going to manage those goals? Who's going to measure the outcomes? And after you measure the outcome, what's going to be your learning mechanism to understand, did you meet your goals? Are you where you want to be? What do you want to set for yourself for the next year? How can you do better? What can you improve on? Things of that nature. I think if we start there, we're all human and this is a brand new industry, and we just think that if you start now and if you start at some entry point, that's better than doing nothing at all and just kind of batting the ball back and forth. Yeah, we need to do diversity. No, let's not bat the ball any longer. Let's stop and let's be very intentional in 2019 and create an entry point and start small and then continue to grow from there.
Absolutely. And Roz, I want to thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
I know this It's a really tough conversation to have, but it's a very important conversation. I'd like to see more just throughout the nation in general.
Absolutely. And it's, you know what, honestly, it's not tough. I love it because I'm passionate about it. And the thing about it is that I think I'm on the forefront and the beginning, the pioneer of this discussion. And I can't wait to see 5-10 years from now that at least I can feel good about knowing that this discussion was prompted by some of the work that we're doing in our organization. And so that's what makes me happy. I get excited. I get excited when I get the phone calls. You want folks to reach out to us, please, let me know. I'll give you our number and our website address and get to know us and see how we can come and support and help you in doing what you think is the right thing and understanding how to make diversity a part of, of an organization.
Well, Roz, let me stop you right there real quick. I would like people to know how to get in touch with you. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So again, it's Roz McCarthy. My number here is 877-900-0832. That's 877-900-0832. You can reach us online as well at www.MasInMary, the number 4, MasInMary, United.org. That's www.m4mmunited.org. That's our website. Go get to know us. We have chapter presidents in 25 states right now doing some phenomenal work. Mississippi, Michigan, Missouri, California, Colorado, New Jersey, New York, DC, Maryland, Florida, Georgia. They are just doing some phenomenal work. So no matter where operators are or no matter where you are, if you're committed, we're there and we want to help and we want to be involved. So please feel free to reach out and I'll get you connected.
Hey Roz, we really appreciate your insights into how diversity can help businesses around the country and the world grow, and how you can help the cannabis industry as a whole.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the sincerity of the discussion. And let's just keep it going. I would love to come back and maybe have some case studies and share with you some of the things that we're doing or seeing that are moving the needle, and that's the best way that we can continue the conversation.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you on it again. For all of our listeners out there, we'd like to remind you to subscribe and share this podcast if you enjoyed our content. I'm Canna-Chris, also known as Chris Nanny.
And I'm Austin Slutsky.
See you next week.